Dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Angiosperm Morphology course. In this video, we are going to take a look at the Taproot system. As we saw in the previous video, taproot is the main root of a plant which arises from the radicle. It grows downwards into the soil. Now this dashed line, this is soil, and this is the taproot growing downwards, and it gives off branches, obviously not in this fashion or straight branches, but this is just diagrammatic. So this main root, it is also known as the primary root. So one thing that you should remember, and that is these two terms, that is the primary root and taproot. They are mostly used interchangeably. So taproot is the primary root or primary root is the taproot. The first formed root, the root that is formed from the radicle of the seed, is the primary root. And then the primary root with all its branches, it forms what we call the taproot system. So primary root plus all its branches, it constitutes the taproot system. So we have primary root, and the very first branch or the first order of branches that arise from the primary root, they are known as secondary root. So these are secondary roots. This is secondary root, and also this one. Both of these, the first order of the branches which arise from the primary root, they are secondary root. Now these secondary roots, they in turn give off further branches. So these branches, they are known as tertiary roots. So mostly we consider the branches up to tertiary roots. Now if tertiary root gives off further branches, they are usually not considered. So we have, as far as the taproot is concerned, we have primary roots or primary root. Primary root gives off branches and they are known as secondary root, and then the branch or the branches of the secondary root, they are known as tertiary roots. We can classify the taproot or the taproot system in different ways. One of the classification is, for example, this is taproot. Now as far as the word taproot is concerned, you can use both these versions, tap and the root word separately, or you can write it together. So one of the classification is based on the extent to which the taproot grows into the soil. So we have deep feeders and we have surface feeders. Now this feeder word, it pertains to, or it is related to the taproot, the extent to which it grows in the soil. So as far as the deep feeders are concerned, again this is soil, and this is the stem, and this is the root. Now in deep feeders, this root grows downwards to a considerable distance below the surface of the soil. As you can see, it has gone a long way downwards, and then its branches, they penetrate to various depths inside the soil. Now we can make it even longer to explain the concept. So this is the taproot, and it's going down and down. So in this case, now this is the deep feeder, and its branches traveling in all directions. So if we just zoom out a little, So now you can see that the root has grown downwards to a considerable distance. We can make it or we can show it growing quite deep, but I think this is enough. So this is an example of a deep feeder plant. So back to the normal zoom. As far as example of the deep feeders is concerned, deep feeders, so they are mostly trees. The roots of the trees, they usually grow quite deep and they penetrate a very greater distance into the soil. And if there are other plants like shrubs, for example, so these shrubs are mostly xerophytic plants. That is, they are growing in an area where soil water is scanty or is quite scarce, not available. So the roots grow deep and deep into the soil in search of water. So deep feeders are xerophytic shrubs or trees. As far as the second kind is concerned, the surface feeders. In case of surface feeders, now the root does not penetrate to a greater distance into the soil. Instead, it gives off lateral branches that run more or less parallel to the surface of the soil, and usually it produces an extensive root system that somehow remains parallel to the surface of the soil. The secondary roots, the tertiary roots, and so forth. So it's an extensive system that remains shallow, doesn't grow to a greater distance beneath the surface of the soil. So such a root system is known as surface feeders. So as you can see in a very, not a very good diagram, but just to explain the concept, surface feeders are mostly small plants like herbaceous plants like herbs or others which have plenty of water available near the surface of the soil, so the root does not have to grow deeper into deeper layers or deep into the soil. So in this short video we saw the taproot system and one of its basic classification as far as its extent of its growth into the soil. More about taproot in the next video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.